Good morning. You're now listening to Kingston Community Radio, airing on FM 92.5 and AM 920, WGHQ in Kingston, New York. This programming is brought to you by our listeners and corporate underwriters who are interested in presenting local community radio. The opinions expressed on this program do not represent those of Pamel Broadcasting or Kingston Community Radio. Listeners are encouraged to send in $10 per month to help bring this program to you, and mail your contributions to Kingston Community Radio, Post Office Box 4364, Kingston, New York 12402. For more information or to donate online, visit our website at mykcr.org. Good morning, this is Dan Gaddis, and thank you for tuning in, sharing the morning with us, being a part of today's program, Monday, December 20th, and a chill of 18 degrees out there today. And we'll be right back after these messages.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can. But it's just as important to take time for yourself. AARP can help. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
We are Lions. We bring hope where it's needed. We are a global force for good. Support causes that matter. Change lives. Change communities. Change the world. We can do more together than we can alone. Join in. Experience the joy of serving. Be part of the movement. Give back. Let's unite the world for good. We are Lions. You can be too. Visit weserve.org.
At Central Hudson, we recognize that some of our customers could use a hand from time to time. We have programs designed to help reduce undue stress, get you back on track, and avoid falling behind on payments. We offer payment assistance options, as well as programs for those who are hearing or speech impaired, hospitalized, or using electrical life support equipment. Learn about all our assistance options at centralhudson.com.
This is Cameron Rylands. Many families in our area will not have a happy holiday, and the WGHQ Happy Christmas Fund will help them. We are asking for your contribution to purchase children's clothes, toys, and food for seniors. You can drop off your contribution at the Boyce Brothers Dairy Milk House on O'Neill Street in Kingston. Thank you.
And thank you for being with us here at KCR, Kingston Community Radio, AM 920 and 92.5 FM, and streaming online at mykcr.org. KCR's talk radio and a call-in show, and our call-in number is 845-331-9255. Today's programming is brought to you by Central Hudson, Herzog's, Ulster Savings. We'll get back to that later. Okay, and without further ado, we can move on into the on-air studio with Dr. Eric Stambberg and Robin Baker.
All right, good morning. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
This is our final show of this wonderful year, 2021.
It's almost Christmas.
It is almost Christmas. And then
New Year.
And we're going to actually have an abbreviated show today. There's something I have to do at 8 o'clock that we were unable to move around, so we apologize for that. But we shall be here for around 7:45.
Lightning show.
All right.
We'll be packing it in, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we thought that for today's show at the end of the year, what better way to kind of talk about medical resolutions? All right. I mean, some people don't like the idea of New Year's resolutions. What do you think, Robin?
Well, I think that people think they're kind of empty promises, instead of real changes.
Right. And they think that it's just kind of like, I don't know, they're just setting themselves up to fail or whatever. But I just feel like it's kind of like when I counsel a patient on quitting smoking, if at first you don't succeed, you just try again,
Yeah. And aren't the statistics on that's a big resolution, right? If you're a smoker, to say, the first of the year, I'm just going to stop smoking.
Right. I'm going to wake up and just do it. By the way, some people do that.
Yeah, they just like make up their minds and they stop. But usually, statistically, doesn't it take like 3, 4, 5 times for someone to actually reach that goal?
Absolutely. And by the way, an advice I give people when you choose a day to quit smoking, it doesn't have to be the first of the year, although that's the context of our discussion. But I think it's helpful to have it be a meaningful day. Your birthday, your anniversary, birth of your children, another holiday like Valentine's Day. I mean, what more loving gesture can you give your loved one than to quit smoking? On Valentine's Day, quitting smoking on Valentine's Day is actually a rather romantic thing to do.
Yeah.
So, yes, quitting smoking is certainly a good one, but smoking's so complicated, and there are things that we just don't understand about it, and whatever it takes. Some people can just wake up in the morning and quit. There's usually a context behind that. Sometimes they've done so much damage to themselves that they actually feel worse smoking. In other words, they got COPD, for example, and every time they smoke, their breathing gets worse. Well, that helps the patient quit. So we really want them to try to quit before it gets to that point.
Yeah.
But if you are considering smoking for the New Year's, just remember the various tools you have at your arsenal.
Quitting smoking.
Yes. What did I say?
Not taking up smoking.
Right. Things people ask me about things like hypnosis, and I say, sure. Again, there's a lot we don't understand, but if you want to try that, I remember once when I was in high school, they had a hypnotist come for like a social activity, and he kind of said, hold your hands and close your eyes and, said a few things. And then he said, after about a minute or so, he said, no, try to separate your hands. And I remember because he's trying to figure out which ones in the audience are hypnotizable, and I remember for like 5 seconds not being able to do it, it was kind of, so there's something there.
Just by the hint of suggestion.
Right.
Right.
So hypnosis works. I think little behavioral changes work. Let's say, like, for example, if you, every time you have a beer, you get together with your friends and smoke some cigarettes, and maybe it's time to change those patterns a little bit. Not get rid of your friends, of course, but change the activity. When couples are both smoking, it's, imagine how hard it is for one of them to try to quit. So it's a very nice thing for couples to do together, right?
Yeah.
And just don't forget the value of medical treatment to help you quit smoking. Remember, smoking addiction basically has 2 halves, a physical and a psychologic. And the physical is caused by nicotine. Actually, it's out of your system pretty quickly, around 1 to 2 weeks, maybe even a little bit less if you're lucky. Things like nicotine patches and nicotine gum will help with that. Those are, they're not quite prescription products, although they can be prescribed. They're also available through New York State avenues as well. NY Quits, that's the hotline, and then you could potentially get a prescription for these products or a supply of them. And then the pills that can be prescribed to help someone quit smoking, there's 2 main ones. One is called bupropion or Wellbutrin, and the other one is called Chantix, which I'm going to botch the generic name for Chantix. Begins with a V. Anyway, these work somewhere in the brain at that synapse that makes you kind of crave the cigarettes. I always say to patients who are trying to quit, why does someone resume after 6 months, 12 months, 10 years? Because somewhere in that brain, there's still that synapse. So these products are really excellent products, and they can be prescribed to help someone quit smoking. And I recommend them very highly. I think sometimes people say, they're worried about the side effects. Generally, Wellbutrin doesn't really have many side effects. Look, if you read the list, it's going to list everything. It may cause this, may cause that. Those kind of rapid fire commercials you get. Chantix, people talk about bad dreams, so that's probably a real side effect. But sometimes they just say they didn't like the medicine because it made them feel bad. Well, you're trying to kind of quit smoking, and that might be making you feel bad too. So let's try to separate what's being caused by the treatment versus what we're trying to accomplish.
Right.
It's an addiction. It has a withdrawal syndrome, and withdrawal syndromes are rough.
So what are the other things do you find that people try to...
All right, so just to finish the smoking, though, those of you who are considering it and have a family or friends, they that to me, this is the optimism of a new year. So I think a New Year's resolution to quit smoking is an excellent place to begin. And by all means, feel comfortable contacting your medical professional for assistance. Before we go into that, we should also mention vaping. And we talked about it several times in this show, how vaping kind of, I don't know, our public health system, well before COVID, was asleep at the wheel with this one. Really just allowing the marketing to be unregulated, the products essentially to be unregulated. They kind of are now, but vaping can potentially help someone quit smoking, and I'd rather have them vape than not. There's something that we've had for a long time called Nicotrol inhaler, kind of something that you kind of breathe in the nicotine. I'd rather have someone vape than smoke, but vaping by no means is safe. Matter of fact, there's a diagnosis called vape lung, where people really just inflame their lungs so much by vaping that they have to be admitted. And the other problem with vaping is it's unfortunately introduced kids to nicotine rather than encourage people to quit. And then if you look at the marketing, it really follows that pattern. Clearly marketing towards youth and coolness. Anyway, what other things you think people might want to focus on for 2022?
I think probably improving your nutrition and your exercise goals.
Right, and that's also something where maybe people set themselves up to not succeed.
Right.
And I would counsel a patient that you kind of, if you do something, it's worth it. It doesn't have to be a lot, as long as it's something. So many patients, when they do successfully lose weight, I'll say to them, well, how'd you do it? And they go, Doc, I'm just eating less. I'm like, well, amazing how that works. So if you typically have seconds at dinner, stop having seconds. Say to yourself, this is enough. I tend to advocate eating through the day. I know there are diets that are very popular now, like intermittent fasting, where people kind of are not eating through the day. But I think even though there's some evidence to suggest that is effective, I still think it's mostly effective because people are just consuming fewer calories. But when a lot of people don't eat throughout the day. They stay busy. They stay anxious. They fill their tummies with coffee. And then by the end of the day, your judgment's kind of down. You've had a long, exhausting day, and people,
now you're hungry.
And now you're hungry because you've been depriving yourself all day, and good chance that even though you're eating only one meal a day, and therefore think you should lose weight because you're eating only one meal a day, that you're consuming enough calories in that one meal. That's still too much for you to lose weight. So little changes, cut out seconds. Let's see.
I know we're working with a trainer for a while that was very encouraging of keeping your body fueled,
right,
and not depleting.
Right.
So even just a handful of almonds or a handful of blueberries, or just as a instead of letting yourself get so hungry that
right, and eating breakfast. And eating throughout the day. I agree with that. And there are some very good studies that show that people who eat throughout the day consume less than people who eat, starve themselves, so to speak, and eat just one. Because that's a common complaint when patients say, I swear I'm not eating that much. You kind of, if time allows, you review and say, well, you kind of are.
Do you find a benefit in journaling if you're trying to...
Yeah, I think journaling is good. I think, again, by whatever means, any means necessary.
But, it's a good way to look and see exactly what you are eating.
Right.
So you can consciously look at that.
Yeah. And this time of year, by the way, things are showing up in the office,
Oh, yeah, a lot of cookies and stuff, huh?
Yeah. So making dietary adjustments is a nice way. And I always tell patients, you don't want to go on a diet, you want to change your diet. And that's one way to think about it. Because if you go on a diet, the implication is at some point you're probably going to go off of it. And how often is it for someone to, gain their weight back? You see that a lot?
Mm-hmm.
By the way, there's so much we don't understand about weight and calories, and I frequently criticized my own medical education at the, saying that it still does not focus on nutrition enough. And when we had Dr. Benetti and Jennifer Sheffer on a couple months ago, they were talking about some hormones, ghrelin, and something else I can't even remember. That this is all kind of new science. It's complicated. There's genetics and there's so much to it. I always think about, and there's something in our biology, I think, that makes us say, food's in front of you. You better eat it while you got it. Why do dogs and cats, for example, we have a problem with domesticated animals kind of getting heavy too, because food's always there for them, and in their biology, food may be here now, but not tomorrow or the next few days. So you better eat it, So I think there's something in our biology that way as well.
Mm-hmm. So slow and steady is really a good way to look at it, and it's the same with exercise. Like if you're gonna, start a new exercise program, and if you haven't exercised at all, or you've only been kind of a little bit here and there exercising, you're probably going to be in a little bit of pain after you, initiate this new exercise program. And then you might not want to exercise again because it hurts, So really starting out slow.
Absolutely. And by the way, it's something as we've gotten older, it's even more evident. When I was 30, when I wanted to exercise, I could still go out and, run.
Take a jog, right?
Yeah, run 3 miles. And then, I'd be a little sore, but I'd be able to, get it. But it's actually fairly common for people to kind of come out like gangbusters and give themselves a little tendinitis or lateral epicondylitis. Remember what that is, Robin?
Tennis elbow?
Tennis elbow. I mean, that's all comes from kind of doing too much too soon with your mechanics and things like that. So, yes, a graduated introduction to exercise for those of us who are getting up there a little bit in years is a reasonable way to approach it. And I do advocate for a trainer, I think, in that episode. This is complicated. If it were that simple, we probably wouldn't be talking about it. And I just think supervision, by a professional to help you kind of get on the right track.
So you don't get hurt.
Yeah, injury, and that you don't do too much too soon. That you're focusing on the right type of exercises for you. I mean, what I need to do in my mid-50s is different than what I needed to do, in my mid-20s. So it's different like that.
Can you emphasize enough how important it is to exercise?
It is. By the way, it's also can be discouraging for people. It's actually pretty hard, particularly for middle-aged people, to lose weight by exercise alone. Exercise has a cardiovascular benefit, and certainly your muscle tone and your muscle mass, but you really got to burn a lot of calories if you want to lose pounds that way. So, most of us, we're getting through the day. If we can get to the gym or exercise for an hour, we're doing all right. But it's probably not enough time to really burn calories in a way that helps you lose weight. So you really got to do it in conjunction with dietary adjustments, which are probably more important. But there's a cardiovascular benefit. There's just so many benefits to exercise, and it absolutely should be done. What was the question, though?
I wondered if I was just saying that you can't really emphasize enough how important it is for everyone's life to stay mobile, because once you're sedentary and once it's very hard to get yourself out of that type of lifestyle.
Absolutely. And when I see this with back pain, I have a problem with back pain. I think I've talked about it a little bit. I had to have some shots a couple months ago, but there's so much of the pain is almost secondary. That maybe you have a pinched nerve, maybe you have a little arthritis that's pinching on things or whatever. But so much of your back health has to do with those muscles and those ligaments, and they got to stay healthy. So if you allow the pain to kind of put you in a model of less exercise, it just kind of makes it worse and worse and worse. So I kind of tell people, keep exercising.
Well, that's where, the proponent of physical therapy comes in.
Physical therapy, absolutely.
Where, and sometimes in medicine, you're actually, you're forced to do those, because they won't even approve imaging or anything else until you've
Right.
tried these physical therapy and these other means of seeing if you can get better a different way.
Right. And we talk about that at other times in the show where, the patient etiquette, when someone comes in and says, my why are you here? Well, my neck hurts, I need an MRI. I'm like, well, hold on. Slow down there, fella. But, the HMOs will not approve the MRI right away. And this, they kind of have different motives, but they're kind of right. Most cases of neck and back pain do not need fancy imaging like that, and they will get better with just time and stretching and exercises and maybe anti-inflammatories. So there's a lot to do before you kind of jump to that big test.
Right.
Yeah.
It's so interesting because we're like, well, exercising, too fast, too much is going to cause you pain. And then you're saying if you have pain, you can exercise and get rid of your pain.
A little counterintuitive, but
Yeah.
but I did, that to me, that's why you should do it right, and I advocated for a trainer or groups I think are good, for people, yoga groups, spin groups, stretching,
Yeah.
groups, all types of groups.
Well, I think it's just another way to encourage yourself to stay on track because you're kind of accountable to somebody else besides yourself. Like you join a group and then
Right.
the group counts on you.
You need a buddy.
Yeah.
At least a buddy, right? I remember reading, I was never in the military, but what they talked about that was almost like a thing of a lot of soldiers. You had a buddy, a best buddy to kind of help you get through the experience. So it's kind of like that. And by the way, military analogies are used all the time with exercise. Boot camp, right?
Yeah.
I'm also amazed at how in exercise now everything old is new again. My grandfather was kind of a fitness buff before it was kind of something, and he had some devices that, of course, my brother and I would always play with. One was like a wheel with two little posts, and you would kind of
They have those at the gym.
right, and they're very good for something we talk a lot about now.
Your core.
The
and your
core, right? So something else that is very important, particularly as we get older, to maintain the health of your core. Anyway, so yes, weight loss, exercise. I think, again, good examples of things to approach the new year with that I think will be positive. And I think it's okay. I think it's okay to think about yourself and say, what can we do different in the coming year to help ourselves be happier and healthier.
What is the physiological definition for core? What part of your body?
Oh, it really refers to usually starting maybe with your shoulders and neck and back, and then your lower back, probably into your hips, your core. I guess it probably emphasizes more your lower back and maybe your neck. Think about those ailments that so many people have, right? And that, how could I forget the abdominal muscles?
Right.
Yeah. And
that's the only one I thought it was the stomach and the front.
Yeah, and it kind of makes sense. But when I was a young man, getting kind of into exercise, the men are always about the upper body, curls and bench press. We did very little on core and stuff like that. But when I see some of the young men at the gym, I mean, they really have a good approach. They it's just different.
Well, interestingly enough, we're to send out some love to your mom. So she's struggling through an illness right now and dealing with, so this is, in senior citizens, and watching your mom go through physical therapy. It's so interesting. The physical therapist is like every single thing that you're doing involves your core. So even just sitting up straight is you working on keeping your core strong. As opposed to like slumping over or laying on the table and then every time you kind of pick up your arms or like if you can pick up your leg and move your knee towards your chest, that is working your core. Like all of that is involved in keeping you strong as far as like, your center. And so it's very interesting. So even like the slightest movement, it seems so funny, but we're like, they have her pushing like her arms away from her body, like at your chest and then out and back. And that's all core work too. So anyway.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I think, and I've become more cognizant of myself and talking to patients about this, so much of our life is spent a little hunched over now, right?
Sitting at the computer, driving long distances.
You're driving, you're sitting. And I was at the bank last week. One of the woman behind the counter, they had like a standing desk. I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh, at the bank?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
And I said that, I think that would go a long way to help people as well to get it. And all day long I'm trying to tell myself to sit up, and then before you know it, you're back into that hunch mode because you're in front of the computer all day. So I try.
Yep.
Maybe get a support.
Sitting up straight right now.
It won't last.
It's,
It's already gone.
we're all trying to stand up and sit up
That's right.
straight right now.
Hey, you people at home, sit up straight.
Restaurant service is very challenging because you're always leaning over tables.
Right.
That's very challenging. You have to every now and then go, oh, let's walk straight.
Although when you carry a tray, I guess you got to stand up straight.
Nobody does that anymore.
Yeah, they carry the plates in front of them.
Like Hello Dolly. Remember the famous?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the waiters.
Well, some restaurants use those really large 5-dish trays, and you got to get it above you for those ones.
It's funny when I'm evaluating patients who have like a numbness in their ring finger and pinky. It might be a problem with the ulnar nerve. So I have something I call the waiter sign. I said, make believe you're a waiter at the Concord Hotel in 1963 and you're carrying a big tray. And I say, hold it like that. If that brings out the numbness, it's usually, so I call it's a positive waiter sign.
You're pointing to your elbow when you say ulnar nerve.
Well, the ulnar,
on the
the
radio.
funny bone is right there, right? And that can get kind of kinked and cause a problem going down.
If your hands are numb.
So we talked about physical things, right? What else do you think people can maybe do? Maybe 20 years ago, we never thought something like this would be a New Year's resolution. But how about, just stress?
Stress.
We are stressed out.
It's a big topic.
Big topic. We'll have to... we give ourselves enough time to think this topic?
I think so.
But
Don't
really,
get stressed now.
Don't stress over stress. You must see it all day long with your patients. How
yes,
people
and
are
myself,
feeling
and
it,
yes,
yeah.
and yes, and it's so many components to it. I mean, there's constant alerts, right? News alert, weather alert, alert on your phone. Update. My brother has this thing, like one of those cameras on his door, and I'm with him yesterday, and it pings his watch. I'm like, oh, what's wrong? He goes, oh, a fire truck just went by. It's little alerts. I'm like. So there's constant kind of like, and the addiction to 24-hour news. You're going to miss a headline. What's new? And there's no, just the fact that we don't really turn off particularly well. We've talked about sleep a lot. I guess sleep probably goes hand in hand with stress. And just a New Year's resolution to not stress out so much, to try to keep things in perspective and take them in stride.
Take things in stride.
Yeah.
It's so easy to say that.
It is easy. Well, that's why it's on the level of a resolution in a way, Right. I mean, our reaction patterns are kind of as hard to unprogram as being, smoking or overeating, And probably they're kind of related, right? We even use, stress eating as a term. Now we call the idea of comfort food. Yeah. Is kind of a newer term. By the way, I love comfort food. But anyway, the idea that you're stressed and now you need comfort.
So what kind of things could you implement a little at a time? Like maybe your routine before you go to bed?
Yeah, absolutely.
Adjust that kind of thing to just maybe be calm. We talked about last week. I don't think it's a new thing, but it's become something that I think people find beneficial is this, especially this time of year when it's the shortest days and the longest nights.
Right. Yeah.
And giving yourself some extra sunlight by using one of these lights.
Yeah.
That can help you out of your doldrums.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've been doing that, and I feel it helps me actually. Kind of give me a little more energy to go through the day, and I also think it's kind of like some wellness time. In the event that even though yes, it is also a light kind of shining in my face, but it's a time that I spend in the morning to kind of read a little bit and kind of be a little
have a cup of coffee.
Get ready for the day. So many things about like life are ritualistic. That it's about trying to get rid of the stressful rituals and maybe replace them with more healthy rituals. I encourage people to turn off. Just like in a way, the light is turning on. I want people to turn off. I don't think television should be out of the bedrooms. Your TV, your bedroom should be a place kind of to sleep. And if you want to read a little bit before you go to sleep, if that helps you fall asleep, that's absolutely fine. Get off the phone.
We're going to go straight through now till 7:45. So we'll be doing all of our PSAs and breaks and weather at 7:45.
Yes.
When Doc goes to his meeting.
Yes, meetings. Yeah, so a New Year's resolution, I think, to just say, let's not be so stressed out. And by the way, it's not easy, right? Because we're dealing in stressful times as well. Mm-hmm. Although you think about it, all times were stressful, right?
Yeah. I think we were talking this morning that there's always going to be something, something. Right. And as human beings, I think we get lucky if the things are not terrible, if they can just be like, keep little things in perspective.
And we always tend to romanticize some bygone era, in my day when I was a kid, whatever. And there's some truth to that. If someone has good positive memories of their childhood, I think that's awesome, but
well,
there was always something going on.
Yeah, there was.
What's my favorite Billy Joel quote?
The good old days weren't always good, and tomorrow's not as bad as it seems.
That's right. I think that's an amazing little line written by Billy Joel that kind of sums things up. Mm-hmm. So a New Year's resolution to not stress out so much.
A little more peace.
Yep. And at the same time, kind of hand in hand with that, work on our sleep. We really have almost an epidemic of poor sleep, and it's tough to take care of sometimes because really it's behavioral and people kind of want the easy fix, and they even do dumb things, like oh yeah, our friend gave me one of his Ambien. I'm like, oh, but here we go. That's a good idea. Let's just start giving each other's medications.
Yeah, no, that's not a good idea.
No, I don't know where in the programming is that a good idea. But you know what? I do understand people are desperate.
And you think about there's like a romance about it, the city that never sleeps.
Right,
and
right.
There's until like it's you and you haven't slept. And talk about not feeling well and feeling kind of ill.
Yeah.
Just having just a little bit of sleep a night and then trying to do your whole day, it's just so difficult. So yeah, sleeping is so important.
In my job, I do sometimes have to work nights, and it's gotten more challenging as I've gotten older. The body is is a machine. It has a on time and an off time and rhythms and maintenance, and I find that it has gotten much more difficult for me as I've gotten older. The idea that I would kind of work throughout most of the night and then be in the office all day, and it's just tough.
So as opposed to medicine, like that being your last resource, okay, right? You want to...
Oh, like a sleeping pill?
Right.
There are no good sleeping pills. There are only kind of ones that may be okay for you, but they all kind of come with a price. They all have side effects. There's no substitute to just trying to learn how to do it on your own.
Wind down.
I recommend read old, soft, incandescent light, not fluorescent light, not light from your tablet or your phone or whatever. Remember, that's shining in your face. That helps wake you up, right? You think about the big picture about our happy light. Why is that now at 11 p.m. going to help you fall asleep? Over your shoulder, nice soft light, a book. That is a good book, but not like something that's going to rile you up. Maybe not a political book, maybe not a violent book. Something along those lines. And it's a joke, but I literally keep a copy of Moby Dick in my office and offer to lend it to patients when they can't sleep, saying.
It's funny how kind of things come back around because you think about trying to get your kids to sleep, or how would you put a child to sleep?
Right.
You give them a nice warm bath,
right.
And you make them nice and comfortable, and you snuggle, and you read a book, and you calm down, and you put your child to sleep. So, I mean, it works for them.
Yeah, why not, right?
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, the idea of a New Year's resolution to also be more behavioral, I think is a good thing as well.
You're really focusing on wellness here. It's like a whole wellness thing, just moving forward into the new year.
Right. And I I guess we do talk about wellness every so often, and not just illness on Medical Mondays.
Mm-hmm.
And we've had some great guests over the years. I was trying to reminisce about the past year and the wonderful guests that we've had on, and I got some good ones lined up for next year.
I'm looking forward.
They're really knocking on the door.
We had one of your residents, or students, I should say, was in touch with you recently and said that they had been put in touch with some other really good doctors as they went through their rotations, but none of them had a radio show.
That's right. and two of my residents who were guests on this show, Molly and...
Are you going to be able to think of his name?
It was a girl.
Erin?
Yes, Erin. I kept saying Molly and Erin, they're now applying for residencies, and they asked me to write letters of recommendation. And I put that in the letter, that they were guests, and they said that it's really helped them through their interviews, because it's kind of, first of all, it's probably something else that doesn't show up on other letters, and, it gets a conversation going. So I think that's kind of a neat experience.
Yeah, definitely. And they bring such a unique perspective to the show, too, with their bright new little outlooks.
So we have about 10 minutes left. Do you think we covered basic things going into our new year?
Yeah, I think that, that's such an individual and a personal thing. Mm-hmm. But if you're going to make a resolution, I think it's good advice to just...
Maybe to get out of the idea of a resolution, to just...
I liked your philosophy, just exactly the way you're saying that not all resolutions have to be something that you're doing bad and you're going to fix it.
Right.
Some of it just has to do with being good to yourself.
Right.
And those kinds of things that that encourage you to just get on top of things, all the wellness things that you mention, and that is a very, very, very good philosophy to bring forward to the New Year's.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to think of not so much as a New Year's resolution, it's just a promise you're making to yourself that's going to be broken, but just to view, approach this
right, not a pass-fail thing,
right?
But implement small steps at a time,
and ask for help, particularly with smoking cessation. I think your healthcare provider can help you with that.
You're going to feel so much better.
Yeah, the economics of smoking, right? By the way, we didn't really talk about alcohol. I think we are, and caffeine, again, maybe a little, I've got a cup of coffee here, but I think we're a little over-caffeinated. And I think we're probably collectively drinking a little too much.
I read a statistic with the pandemic. It's the liquor stores have been doing very well.
Alcohol is a very complicated substance, and it is a medicine. In different times of our medical career, we've used alcohol medicinally. They used to use it to stop labor in preterm labor because it kind of relaxes muscles. But literally, you had intoxicated women in labor. And the idea of a nightcap, alcohol is a very dysfunctional sleeping aid. It can help you fall asleep, but it will then interfere with your deep sleep. And actually, it's not unusual to wake up. Everyone has a college roommate who crashed when they came back from a party, but then at 5 a.m., was awake doing something, You ever hear those stories?
No.
Okay. I remember some stories of people with college roommates that were doing stuff like that.
So it helps you go to sleep, but it's
Right.
not going to keep you asleep.
No. Look, if I have someone says to me, I have a little nightcap, a shot, one shot of whiskey, brandy, whatever, and that helps me. And I say, okay, do you sleep through the night? And they say, yeah. I say, okay, it's working for you. But generally, it's not a good medicine.
Well, like most things, it's the excess of it that is when you have an issue.
Yeah.
Not necessarily like something in moderation.
That's right. So we covered some vices, right? Smoking, overeating, alcohol. We talked about more conceptual things like stress. We talked about sleep. And how about, it's kind of hand in hand with stress, and maybe it's a little kind of hippy-dippy, but maybe we could just try to be nice to each other throughout the coming year.
Kindness.
They taught us this in kindergarten, right? Do unto others.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that also comes with maybe relieving our stress, not being so angry all the time at each other, at ourselves, at something on the news, on television, to try to understand that we're just part of something. We have a couple minutes later left. Should we go into a little bit of a COVID update?
Yeah, because the new mask mandate, I know that, this affects some people more than it does others, right? I mean, working at the doctor's office, it was always mandatory to wear a mask. There is no option to do otherwise. The staff is masked, and all the patients are asked to wear masks when they come to the office. So it was like a non-issue. But I also work in, I have a second job at a restaurant, and the restaurants, you didn't have to wear it anymore. It wasn't mandated. It is now. So, and I think that's in effect until January 15th right now by the governor. And of course,
it was a 1 month, whatever you want to call it, what regulation or.
And I guess you should clarify that it was not like a forced thing, like no one's getting in trouble. She was leaving it up to the businesses. Like this is what she wanted them to do. But I guess you could make those decisions yourself.
You should know because
there is a fine.
So it's forced
for restaurant staff or the clients coming in without masks until they sit down. They have to have that mask on. It's actually, if it's found, and if anybody is seeing it and whoever's regulating it and coming around, I don't know. But we've been visited, at Le Canard, and luckily
everybody was doing the right thing.
Everybody was doing the right thing, and we really do make major efforts in complying with whatever the laws are that come down the pike.
That is the thing, isn't it? Like, do the right thing.
Is there another option to just require people to be vaccinated?
I wished.
No, I think
there are some companies, some businesses, and some governmental agencies that are requiring it. Yeah.
No. I guess what I meant was
you show proof of vaccination.
Show proof of vaccination or be masked.
This is a New York routine. You go everywhere and you use that card.
Yeah.
Everywhere. That hasn't been required. Jean-Jacques wanted to do it, and it's just, it's really excellent. Actually a little difficult to do.
Yeah, it's hard to be
People aren't used to
a waitress
it right
and a policeman at the same time.
Yeah, we got enough to do. It happens a lot in my job, by the way,
Yeah.
when I'm required to, little dinky things like authorize someone for jury duty. I'm like, how did that become my job? I got enough to do. So I know I feel your pain.
Yeah.
Well, the gym is requiring their patrons to be vaccinated.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
okay,
and
good.
I admire that decision very much.
Which gym do you go to? Next
Mac.
door?
Yeah, right next to my office.
Yeah, right.
And I admire that decision very much. Then I asked, some people have kind of said, stormed out, and I don't know. All I can tell you is I like working out there knowing that everyone's vaccinated.
So you worked at the hospital last weekend.
Yes.
What are you seeing in our area
as
far as COVID?
It's very common. I had a colleague who tested positive, had to take some time off, and then I had to be tested negative, thankfully. It's still, the Delta variant never really went away. And then the Omicron variant on top of that, the Omicron variant seems to be less virulent, less serious, which is good, but it's still there. Throwing into the fact that we still probably don't have enough people, I'll say definitely don't have enough people vaccinated in our community to give any sort of degree of herd immunity. And then kind of, bad weather, people are indoors more, get family gatherings. I as much as we spent the last 45 minutes being optimistic for 2022, I'm very, very concerned for how it's going to go on a COVID front. So I work at Northern Dutchess Hospital. Approximately 25% of the inpatients at this time are related to COVID. Whether they were a diagnosed case or just under investigation, which means maybe they are, maybe they're not. So just keep that in mind. One more plea, you and I, and we've said it every week. If you're not vaccinated, please get vaccinated. If you're not boosted, please get the booster. And then please be careful.
We care about you.
Yeah. One of the more serious cases that I saw, and this gentleman finally did turn the corner, but he suffered for around 3 weeks. had COVID a couple times before. So you'll hear talk about natural immunity. I mean, if you want to go in anecdotes, here's an example of a guy who had natural immunity, and that's in quotes, and really still got very, very sick from it. So please, let's make 2022 a happy and healthy new year on all levels.
We wish everyone a very happy new year.
Yes, thank you for being our audience. Thank you for listening. I want to thank Dan, who's here every week.
And thank all the audience for being with us and supporting Kingston Community Radio all year long. And thank you, Dr. Stambberg and Robin Baker.
I want to thank the Maxwell family, Lawrence and his mother, Jean, for giving us this opportunity. So we are going to go and wish everyone a happy, healthy end of the year and a happy, healthy new year.
See you next year.
Thank you, Robin Baker. Dr. Eric Stambberg. That was the last show of the year for Medical Mondays, Dr. Stambberg and Robin Baker. You're with us here at KCR, Kingston Community Radio, AM 920, 92.5 FM. It is now 7:45. This is an unusual time to have a break, but after our station IDs and our promos and our underwriting announcements and a little bit of weather, we will do birthdays a little early probably. Okay, so we do have a birthday today, so stand by. Stay with me for a little while. These underwriters underwrote the show for today: Central Hudson, Herzog's, and Ulster Savings Bank. We'll be right back after these messages.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can. But it's just as important to take time for yourself. AARP can help. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
We are Lions. We bring hope where it's needed. We are a global force for good. Support causes that matter. Change lives. Change communities. Change the world. We can do more together than we can alone. Join in. Experience the joy of serving. Be part of the movement. Give back. Let's unite the world for good. We are Lions. You can be too. Visit weserve.org.
This is what carbon monoxide sounds like. Nothing. You can't see it or smell it either. That's why it's so dangerous. But you can protect yourself. Use carbon monoxide detectors. Have your home's heating system regularly inspected by a trained technician. Keep chimneys and flues free of debris. Never use a generator or grill or idle a vehicle in an enclosed area. And review life-saving carbon monoxide safety information at centralhudson.com.
This is Nina Postupak. Once again, the WGHQ Happy Christmas Fund is asking you to help the needy this holiday season. For the last 50 years, the WGHQ Happy Christmas Fund has helped less fortunate families have a happier holiday. Look for our collection boxes at the local branches of the Ulster Federal Credit Union, Roundout Savings Bank, the Mid-Hudson Valley Federal Credit Union, Ulster Savings Bank, and at Cantine Field and Saugerties. Thank you and have a happy Christmas.
Again, this day's programming is brought to you by Central Hudson and Herzog's. Do you ever think about what really matters? At Herzog's Home and Paint Center, community, family, neighborhood all matter. Herzog's employees have been a part of the Herzog's family for years, and they value personal customer service and being close to their community. Stop by Herzog's Home and Paint Center in the Kingston Plaza for all of your home building and maintenance and painting needs, and discover the difference of buying local. Sales ongoing at their website at herzogs.com. And because the colors and quality of paint you choose matters, Herzog's Paint and Design Center, located in the Kingston Plaza, is there for you, offering the largest selection of Benjamin Moore paints and the area's most complete line of painting supplies. And expert interior designers and consultants are there for you all the time, choosing the right colors, decorating the home. Visit Herzog's in the Kingston Plaza. The entire show today has also been brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Many locations throughout the Mid-Hudson Valley and location near you. Mostly sunny today with a high of 38. Obviously we're experiencing quite a bit of cold overnight. It was 18 degrees on the way in today. It's probably about 20 now. Tonight, a few passing clouds, a low of 26. Tuesday, intervals of clouds and sunshine with a high of 43. And Tuesday night, mostly cloudy skies with a low of 27. Wednesday, a few clouds early, otherwise mostly sunny, a high around 45. And Wednesday night, some clouds early will give way to generally clear conditions overnight. That's a low near 25. So we are definitely heading into our famous December winter weather. And right now, I'd like to. I know it's and again, I hope that you're listening for the birthdays. Got to do it a little early today because I have no other material to do between now and 8 o'clock. So got one birthday today, and this is there's no competition for the Boyce Dairy Milkhouse cow pie. We would like to wish our good friend Mary Lou Stapleton a very happy birthday today. Thank you. From Georgia and Brett. And without further ado, Mary Lou Stapleton, you're the winner of the cow pie today. And drop down to Boyce Dairy Milkhouse, see Sally anytime after 8 o'clock today, and pick your cow pie. Thank you for being with us today. It is a short, attenuated show today. Thank you for sharing the morning with us, participating in Kingston Community Radio. Again, this show today was brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank, Central Hudson, and Herzog's. And we wish you a very, very happy season in the next few days. And this is talk radio at its best. Many inspired discussions of, by, and for the community. We invite you to be with us tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. And until tomorrow, we wish you every success in growing and developing Kingston and all our neighboring communities. We now return you to Magic 92.5.
The lights are much brighter there. You can forget all your troubles, forget all your cares. So go downtown, where all the lights are bright. Downtown, waiting for you tonight. Downtown, you're gonna be alright now. Downtown, and you may find somebody kind to help and understand you. Someone who is just like you and needs a gentle hand to guide them along. So maybe I'll see you there. We can forget all our troubles, forget all our cares. So go downtown. Things will be great when you're downtown. Don't wait a minute more. Downtown, everything